Sports Hub STL is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Oh,
Brooke.
that was a good one.
Thank you.
I didn't know if you were, the pause, the pregnant pause, amazing. Something in the broadcast biz that really builds up the momentum to the big climax there. And at first I thought you were going to do a question. The crown is yours?
The crown is yours?
Is it?
It is from DraftKings. Brooke, I got to tell you something.
Yes.
If your baseball team starts 4-6, you have no chance of succeeding. None.
Zero.
Yeah.
How many games are there in the regular season, Randy?
There's 162. Like I look back at that 2004 Cardinal team that started off 4-6, and we all remember how terrible that season was. They won 105 games after starting 4-6. I'm not saying this. Okay, I know you're going to hop on the chat right now. We want you to chat, but we don't want you to say, Randy, this team isn't as good as the 2004 team, because I know that. I'm just saying that we get very premature in judging teams. Now, the other thing we have to remember, Brooke, because you just told me that people are going a little bit crazy over the Cardinals.
Yes. Well,
am I going to have to say every day that they really don't care about winning this year? They would like to win. If they win, that'd be a nice bonus. But what they want to do in 2025 is give Matthew Liberatore 20 starts in a row with normal rest and find out if he can get to a point where that disaster inning doesn't occur anymore. They want to see if Brendan Donovan can smooth out some of the mental errors that he makes and come up on a regular basis and be a good, consistent hitter. They want to find out if Lars Nootbaar can be healthy and play 130, 140 games. They want to find out if a guy like Jordan Walker can ascend to be the kind of player that they aspire for him to be. They want Mason Wynn to keep growing. They want all of those things. But this team, and you should know this, you do know this in your heart and in your head, that when they didn't sign Juan Soto during the offseason, they weren't planning on winning.
You're telling me this isn't a championship team,
Randy?
Not
a championship team. No. Are the Cardinals going to be as bad as the Pirates were for 30 years, or the Royals, or some of the Reds have been down? They haven't been in the World Series since 1990. I don't think the Cardinals will be down that long. I think that this rebuild will probably be more akin to what we're seeing with the Blues, where they don't bottom out and spend a bunch of years at the bottom, even like the Cubs did before they won the World Series. I think the Cardinals have enough good players that they can be competitive for a long time. But if we are going to be upset over a 4-6 start for a team that isn't expected to win, I think we're wasting our emotion. I think that's an unhealthy thing mentally.
This is a transition year. So you're getting everything that you want. You have John Mozeliak. His era is coming to an end as the president of baseball operations for the Cardinals. You're ushering in a new era with a new voice finally from outside the organization in Chaim Bloom. I think that this is a step in the right direction. My expectations were not low. I think this is a 500 team. We've stated that many times before the season started. They still won 83 games last year.
And I could see 75 this year.
I could see that maybe a little bit more with the Cardinals, but you're right, Randy. My expectations were just to see these guys get a chance so we can evaluate, like a Matthew Liberatore. You mentioned kind of that one inning that he runs into. I think that his final line looks better than maybe what it was indicated in that final line.
Because who did I say? Who was it that I said a few years ago, don't watch the games? It was a starting pitcher. Remember when I said don't?
Yes.
Matthew, do you remember who it was? It was a starting pitcher a few years ago. I said, you'll be much more mentally healthy if you just look at the line score after the game. Don't watch the games. I don't even remember who it was, but Liberatore is that guy right now.
Yeah.
If you watch the games, it's kind of, and the closing line wasn't great.
No.
But he did a lot of good things.
That's the thing. You want to know what you have with Matthew Liberatore. I saw all the stuff on social media. I'm sure we'll get it in the chat, and you can put in your comments in the chat and we'll react to it. But Matthew Liberatore pitched better than his line indicate. He settled down after the second and did not walk a batter for the second straight outing. And still, his line will read 5 earned runs over 6 1/3 innings. But I liked the way, at least in these recent starts, that he is finding a way to come back after a big or bad inning. I think that says a lot about him. I think there's a lot of people that still just want him to be a bullpen guy. I want Matthew Liberatore to get a shot in the starting rotation. This is the whole point. You're evaluating these young players. I understand being frustrated with Miles Michaelis. We discussed that yesterday. You're spending $17.6 million on Miles Michaelis this season. You only spent $2 million on Phil Maton during the offseason. I understand the frustrations. It's a contract that is bad with Miles Michaelis, but you can't just launch him into the sun. Like I've seen some people say, he's kind of here. You're kind of stuck with him right now. That is the situation. But I do like that we're seeing what we have with Matthew Liberatore. You want to give these guys chances so that we can evaluate and see what this core is moving forward.
Topher Rocks, we love you. Dakota Hudson.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I forgot about Dakota Hudson.
Remember
God.
on the radio show, I would say, just don't watch him. Just wait until the game is over.
That's who it was. Yes. Or John Gant. He said Dakota Hudson or John Gant. I think it definitely was Dakota Hudson. I forgot about John Gant, too. Remember when he got traded and he literally just had to go to the other dugout? That was fun.
Yeah. Walt Mosby checks in. We appreciate that. Randy, are using logic to calm the anger of the DeWitt's illogical contracts, the play regardless stance. Fans are tired of it. Well, that's reality. And here's one of the issues that the Cardinals have kind of run into. And I'm with you. I would have loved to have seen them. And we talked about this. Move Fetty, move Matz, and have some of the young guys start. Now you try to have guys from AAA push their way onto the major league squad. Well, the Memphis Redbirds were rained out on Thursday. They played a doubleheader on Friday. They got rained out on Saturday. They got rained out on Sunday, and they had an off day last night. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They've only played once, one of the last 5 days, and that was a doubleheader. That's no way to get momentum built up for a starting pitcher.
No, you also don't want to start a clock for a guy a little bit sooner than you might need to. You want to put them in the right position because we even look at Victor Scott II, the strides that he made this season compared to last year. He did have a great spring training last year, but as we have seen with this team, sometimes you can't take spring training numbers as reality for going into the season. And Victor Scott II, he was kind of put into that role because Dylan Carlson had that injury. He wasn't fully prepared. Same thing goes for pitchers too. You don't want to just put a young pitcher into a role that they're not completely ready for just yet.
Tony La Russa used to say, you can break them. And you don't want to break a young
He didn't
pitcher.
like playing young players.
No, he didn't. So here's the thing, though. The Cardinals' team ERA, these statistics, courtesy of Matthew Rocchio, went from 3.19 in the first 5 games to 6.18 for the season. 9.57 for the last 5 games is the team ERA. 9.57. Not going to win many games when you have to score 10. They've allowed 17 earned runs in 48 innings with 35 strikeouts, a dozen walks. That's not too bad. 2 homers and 45 earned runs in 42 1/3.
That was so it's 17 earned runs in the first 48 innings. Those are the first 5
Oh, gotcha.
games.
Okay.
And then it's a 35 strikeout to 12 walk run with only 2 home runs allowed. Those are the first,
That's
5,
the first
games.
5 games.
In the last 5 games,
45 earned runs rather than 17, 42 innings rather than 48, and 39 strikeouts versus 35, but 23 walks to 12. And so not great. And you've allowed 7 home runs versus 2. And the Cardinals starters earned run average right now through 10 games through this 4-6 start, 6.52 is 28th in Major League Baseball.
What is the bullpens at this point? Because even with yesterday, Matthew Liberatore, I like the way that he was able to bounce back in that one. And he kind of gave you some length, which is what you needed. This bullpen, I believe, has been the biggest issue so far. Roycroft, I think, needs to go down. Is that safe to say? Because he comes in, allows a walk, followed by 3 straight balls. And the sinker last year for him was like hitting like 96. Now it's kind of dropped down to 93, 94. Do you think that he will be sent down? Because the Cardinals have now played 10 games, which means they're eligible to recall players from the minors. So with the bullpen, what we've seen with them so far getting knocked around, do you see some moves being made?
Who do you bring up, Ryan Ludus?
I don't know. That's the issue.
Yeah. It's,
and that kind of brings into question the 6-man rotation, doesn't it? Because we know that that's supposed to start here soon on April 16th. That's the plan. Steven Matz will rejoin the starting rotation. Can they even do that at this point?
I think they're going to. Again, because I think they want to see what guys are capable of. And I think they also, with a guy like Matz, they want to try to enhance his market value. They are hoping that he gets going with warm weather and puts 4, 5, 6 starts in a row under his belt, and then all of a sudden he becomes a marketable commodity. The Cardinals bullpen earned run average, scrolling. This is not
Oh, you have to keep going down.
26th, 5.75. So 28th for starting pitchers at 6.52, and then 5.75 for the bullpen. That's 26th, ahead of the A's, Nationals, Brewers, and Rockies.
That is not great whatsoever.
No.
Topher Rock says, bring up O'Brien. Now,
Riley O'Brien.
How was he doing during spring training? Because I felt like
He was hurt.
Yeah, that's what
And
I was
he hasn't
thinking.
had the chance to pitch in Memphis because they haven't been playing.
Yeah. So that would be a hard thing to do. I see a lot of comments about Miles Michaelis. Mike says Michaelis needs a lot of defense. Yeah, he needs
Taller walls.
That would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
We need to work on
Or maybe
that.
just move the fences back a little bit.
It's a Michaelis start just pushing back just a little bit.
Brooke, I think we need to go a little bit Sunshine Lollipops here, though.
Okay.
Yo!
Oh, hey, first home run as a Cardinal for him.
Yeah. Matthew, did I got the name wrong, didn't I? You had the correct pronunciation.
Is it Yohel?
I'm having fun.
I thought you actually hit the J. I thought it was Johel.
Johel.
Damn it. Yeah.
I know that there's a clip of him on YouTube. Maybe we
let's
could
check it out.
find so
Johel.
that maybe we can bring it up for us.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're putting you on the spot, Rocky. Like you don't have a million other things to
That's
do.
not going to work.
Okay, fine.
Let's just look at his baseball reference. Let's see what this is. Yeah, baseball reference says Joel. So
Joel.
yeah, you do hit the J.
So-
The Y becomes a J,
Joel.
and it's Joel.
So, like, remember when the Cardinals had Yoel Pinheiro and the guy who played goalie for the Blues last night, Yoel
It
Hofer?
wasn't Joel.
Yoel Hofer.
It wasn't Joel. It wasn't Joel.
It was Joel Pinheiro.
Okay. I was gonna say.
Ellipsis
Joel
150
Hofer. Yeah.
says, I feel like I've seen everything I need to see from Michaelis. Dude is washed.
Well,
Where can you put him?
He
at this
did the
point?
same thing last year. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And yes, you have. You have seen what he is. And he's either going to be woefully mediocre or terrible. Good guy. I always got to throw that in there because he is a sweetheart. But go ahead, Matthew.
JD chimed in here. We were talking about this before the show. I'm really confused by comments like this. JD might start seeing sub 15,000 attendance totals. I'm not surprised by that part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for it until they at least pretend to care about winning products. They're not lying to you that they're trying to put out a winning product and failing to do so this year.
Right.
They're being honest.
So maybe what they need to do is say, yeah, we're going with this youth movement, but we expect these guys to win this year. And they do.
I would call them. I would have a lot of words if they were weird, odd enough to say that publicly, because you can't.
No,
the world doesn't work like that.
But winning does solve everything, doesn't it? If you want to bring people back to the ballpark, you just win, and that's what it's going to take. And you might think that the Cardinals only care about money and that they don't care about winning. But here's the thing. The Cardinals are 50% owners of Ballpark Village. How does Ballpark Village make money?
By having fans come in.
By having fans come in.
Yeah.
If you're drawing 15 or 10,000 people to the ballpark, that doesn't help Ballpark Village. So the Cardinals do want to win. I think the issue is they've lost their way as to how to go about it. And they're finding it. They're bringing in Chaim Bloom and Rob Cerfolio and Larry Day and the whole new minor league staff. That is a sea change. This is a dramatic change for this organization. I think ownership wants to win, and that's why you're seeing what you're seeing.
You said it was since what, 96 or something like that?
When they brought in Tony.
Yes, when they brought in somebody from actually outside of the organization in a big role.
Right, another major league employee, because they did bring in like Jeff Luhnow and Gersh, but it took them from 96 to 24 to bring somebody in from another major league team from outside the organization to give them a fresh set of eyes.
And I don't disagree that that's frustrating. So I think fans definitely are aware of that. They're saying, why did it take so long to get to this point? You look at this Miles Michaelis contract and I see all the comments, and we talked about it yesterday where you just want to send him off into the abyss. You want to DFA him. And so I understand, because you've had these bad contracts. haunting this team in recent years. And so I completely understand the frustration, but I'm saying that there's a light at the end of the tunnel here. I'm saying that there
it's
is,
not a train.
it's not, no. And maybe that's the fear. Do you think that that's kind of the fear, is that there is a train instead of like a bright, nice, happy light at the end of the tunnel?
I mean, I'm assuming that Chaim Bloom is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
We don't know his full intentions. I just like that they're actually letting him not just come in and take that Pobo role, because that's something we discussed before that was a little bit confusing, is that you have John Mozeliak still here this season. Why not just go ahead and make Chaim Bloom the guy, the president of baseball operations for the Cardinals? It's not like you have to baby him into this role. He's done it before. But I like that they're even letting him start from the ground up, where he's able to work on the development side of things too, and then go into this bigger role. Do
you think, Brooke, that there's any chance that the reason that Mo is doing this last year, and let me start with this. I believe that Mo wanted to do the last year, and I think ownership wanted to do the last year. But is there a chance that when they decided, okay, we are going to take it down to the ground zero and we're going to go with young kids and we're going to go into a rebuild, that they thought that they could trade Contreras and Gray and Arenado?
Yes.
They thought, why should we have Chaim Bloom do that? That killed him in Boston when he had to trade Mookie Betts. Let's have the other guy get rid of those guys so that Bloom starts with a clean slate and doesn't get blamed for that stuff. You think there's a chance that that's the case?
I think that that's a very fair chance, because Chaim Bloom being stuck with that would be kind of like you said, like Boston all over again. Of course, moving Mookie Betts in any situation is going to fire back at you in the worst way possible. But I think you're right. Why not let the guy who brought those guys in be the one who also tries to move them at the same time?
Yeah, I think that that's a distinct possibility. To a couple of more of your chat lines. We love them. And we do appreciate you being a part of the show. We try to be as interactive as we can.
Yes.
And bring up O'Brien is I get we're only 10 games into the season, but as of right now, it feels like the 23 season. Good hitting and zero pitching.
So this is something that I think is kind of leading to the consternation that we're talking about when we're talking about fans being mad right now, Randy, is because of last season and the season before, the way that things have kind of panned out. It's almost like PTSD that some of the fans are experiencing, because we also heard time and time again, patience. It will come together. It'll start to come together. And so then when they start to see the wheels falling off early in April, and I know that you pointed out very early in April, clearly, I think fans just have kind of that like anxious feeling of, I've already seen this story happen before and I know how it ends.
Here's the thing though. I look at the team a couple of years ago. You had 31-year-old Contreras behind the plate, 35-year-old Goldie, 32-year-old Arenado. Tyler O'Neill was 28 and hurt all the time. The starting pitching was Michaelis, Montgomery, an injured Flaherty, an injured Matz, diminished Waino, and then Dakota Hudson, who I didn't want you to watch pitch. So that was the 23 team. And then last year, that was like that was duct tape. And I love, we had Kyle Gibson on our show every week. We love Kyle and Lance Lynn. But the problem is, when Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn are two of your top three starters, you aren't going to win.
They didn't have any young arms ready to go just yet.
Yep. So now you've got a young group of position players, only one position player over, the corner guys, Contreras and Arenado, are over 30. And you've got young pitching hopefully on the way. I feel much better about the future now than I did last year at this time.
You're right. Last year was a Band-Aid year. That's why they brought in all of those veterans with Kyle Gibson, like Lance Lynn, is because those younger guys were not ready whatsoever yet. Quinn Matthews had to go through the system first. You didn't know what he would look like. There was no way that all of a sudden you can just put him at a major league level. You had to let him work through the system. Same thing with McGreevy. I remember hearing all last year that he wasn't ready just yet. So it was a Band-Aid to make sure that they could set things up for some of these younger guys. I think this is really interesting what Uncle Gemma 83, I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. Sorry if I'm not. Bloom wasn't hired for his time in Boston. He was hired for his time in Tampa Bay with that small payroll. I have no doubt that's where DeWitt wants to go. So there's good and bad that comes with that, right, Randy? Because low payroll is something that is not something that is just limited to the Cardinals. We've discussed this. A lot of teams, especially in the National League, and I've said this yesterday too, the Cubs have brought in a lot of revenue. Their payroll's not reflected of that. Why they went and spent all that money on Craig Counsell, I have absolutely no idea. I would be so mad if I was a Cubs fan if that was the result. But a lot of teams are doing this because you're not going to compete with the top of the National League, which is the Dodgers. Nobody is whatsoever. And you have the uncertainty of TV money. And I know that that's not fair for the fans to bear the weight of that because the fans have no control. They just want to watch the game. They want to show up to the games. It should not be something that hampers the fan experience with payroll, but that's just kind of the reality of the situation right now because of how in flux everything happened with Bally. That just really pulled the rug from underneath all the teams.
And the Cardinals expect to drop 1 million fans from the end of 22 to the end of 25. In that 3 years, they expect to go from 3.3 million to about 2.3 million, losing 1 million fans.
Wow.
So with that being the case, I have a question for you and you. And I, by the way, I did this last year, not the exact same thing, but I think last August when we were still employed at the radio station, I did a
We were
ticket
on
or leave
radio?
it. Yeah, we were way back in the day. Now we're on YouTube. This is fun.
Rocco shaking his head.
But I said, take it or leave it. Next year's 26-man roster is already here. And I think everybody left it. And the only guy that is different is Maton. Okay, so here's another one. Take it or leave it. Michaelis, Matz, Helsley, Fetty, and Maton are all up in the last year of their contracts. Take it or leave it. All of those guys, Michaelis at nearly 18 million, Matz at 12 million, Helsley at 8, Fetty at 7.5, Maton at 2. All of those guys are former Cardinals next year and all replaced by minimum salary rookies.
I will take that.
I think so too.
I will take that.
Yep.
Is that necessarily a bad thing, though?
No.
I want to see some of these younger.
No.
I want McGreevy to have a shot in the starting rotation.
Right. Michaelis replaced
Quinn
by
Matthews.
I'm with you. Michaelis replaced by McGreevy. Matt's replaced by Quinn Matthews. Helsley, I don't know who your closer is, but you can find a closer. Fetty, maybe a Graceffo or something like that. And then Maton, you just find just a guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not that they'll be better next year, but they'll be cheaper and younger.
Yeah. But if you're able to maximize the most out of those young players, how much would you hate to see that? I wouldn't. I want to see these younger players maximize. It's something that we've kind of been shouting from the rooftops over the past few years, where you want to see these younger players get a chance.
Yep. This is Ghostface Gaming. They could have traded Walker last year for Garrett Crochet. The White Sox wanted Walker. We could have had an ace, but Mo and them didn't want to trade Walker. I never heard that. I never heard that rumor.
I was trying to think if I did hear that rumor at a certain point. I'm going to have to look this up.
Yeah.
Ghostface Gaming, if you could cite your sources for us. Not that we don't believe
we
you,
believe you,
but I don't remember talking about that last year.
So, and you had Crochet with 2 years of control left, who just signed a $170 million contract. Very easily could wind up being a great pitcher for the Red Sox. But Walker might wind up being okay. But this is another situation where you need to find out what Jordan Walker can do, because the Cardinals don't have another right-handed power hitter in their organization. So if it's not Jordan Walker, you're going to have to find one in the draft.
Yeah.
And that was the case last year at this time too. They don't have another up-and-coming right-handed, not at all, in power hitter in the organization, a guy that can hit 35 home runs. And I don't think Jordan Walker's been a problem so far this year.
No, he hasn't. And that's what you want to see, because you're right. You do need that right-handed pop in your outfield, and they're hoping that Jordan Walker can be that guy. So far, I've liked his progression this season.
Yep. Topher Rocks, Zerpe and Roby are exciting arms too. Yeah, they are. And Roby needs especially to stay healthy. And I think Max Rajic was their minor league pitcher of the week.
He was. Yeah.
So he's got things going. So yeah, they've got some guys that are producing at the minor league level. Let's see if they can do it when they get here. If you can't develop an ace, you're going to have to pay or trade for one.
Exactly.
And that is why Quinn Matthews is such a key. And that is why I would sign Quinn Matthews. Eric Cleveland, thank you for that. Problem with signing one, look how much those babies cost. Not babies, but look how much.
And they're not young pups usually either. So then you're paying a lot of money for probably about like a 30-something-year-old ace.
In fact, think about free agent aces. What has worked? Scherzer didn't work for the Mets. Verlander didn't work for the Mets. DeGrom hasn't worked for the Rangers.
Blake Snell injured currently.
Yeah, yep. And
right now.
he really didn't work. He worked for half a season, I guess, for
which is kind
the
of the
Giants.
expectation for him
Right.
at this point now in
Yep,
his career.
Yep. And he was traded by the Rays to the Padres. Weigh in on the chat. Let's crowdsource here an ace pitcher, an ace free agent pitcher, that Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler has worked for the Phillies. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's probably the best one we got going right now. Trying to think. Here we go. Garrett Cole. There you go. Worked for the Yankees. Big time. Good call. Deep voice, dude. Yeah. That's a great call.
Yeah. Joe says it's not just the mediocre product. It's the gaslighting by the ownership, telling Arenado we were definitely going to add to payroll and improve the team and not really doing that. So he's talking about, was that the 2024, was that going into 2024 season that those discussions were talked about?
I believe both 23 and 24.
24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And last year they did, their payroll went up a little bit when they signed the 3 free agent starters. It just,
they weren't splashy and they weren't fancy.
And it didn't work. I mean, you won 83 games. And I think that they let the public believe that it was going to be they didn't say how much the payroll was going to go up. They just said it was going to go up. I think people thought that they were going to get into a different range than the Cardinals are comfortable swimming in.
Well, and sometimes they kind of walk themselves into that. And we've seen that. And I think that that's what's led to a lot of these frustrations from fans with the ownership and even with John Mozeliak, is because sometimes they're too vague to the point where it can be interpreted in every way. And sometimes you just need to be fully transparent. And I think that that kind of would help temper expectations. Because if you remember, even with all the fan revenue, remember how many people were going to the games for Yachty and Albert's final season, and they came out and said, we're going to put that towards the team and the payroll, but they kind of left it in a very, I can't remember the exact quote, but you know what I'm talking about. It was a very vague explanation of what exactly that was. And then fans didn't feel like they actually put that towards the full payroll.
100%. You're exactly right there. I think another thing that we don't talk about enough is that if the Cardinals do get involved in the free agent market, St. Louis used to be a cool place to play, and it's not a cool place to play anymore.
That's sad.
It is, but the players used to come here for less. But when's the last time? I guess the Cardinals admitted remember when they signed Gray and Lynn, and Mo said the reason that we signed them is because they wanted to be here.
Exactly. Yeah, because they wanted to be here.
Yeah, and Kyle Gibson lived here too, so it was all of them. They wanted to be here. But guys, it used to be that players really came to Busch Stadium, appreciated the 40,000, and it was a legit 40,000 in the stands, and the way they were treated by the fans. And it's just different now. It's not that way.
I think that it was nice hearing, though, when Mike Trout was in town, where he talked about just how much he enjoys St. Louis and the St. Louis fans, and talking about how much, Albert would talk about it, and then seeing it in person.
And it was cool then.
It was really nice to hear him say that. And you even heard Harrison Bader, that interview where he mentioned that the Cardinals fans, best fans in all of baseball, all that different kind of stuff. I think that allure is still there. And of course, a lot of players want to go play on the West Coast or East Coast, but they want to play on the West Coast.
Money, by the way, a lot more money they can make here.
A lot more money. I think that you can still draw good players here in free agency if you show that you are providing the right amount of resources, which is once again why I like that they're making sure that they're adding development. Remember when Sonny Gray came into the Cardinals organization, he said this. I'm sure the Cardinals organization didn't exactly like that he said this publicly, but he kind of pointed out the deficiencies in the coaching staff and what they needed and what they didn't have compared to other teams.
Yeah, it's when a player is saying that, you should take note of it. And maybe the Cardinals did. Dalton Ferris, the problem with the Cardinals is we didn't have Michael McGreevy in the rotation, who has been the best pitcher the last 2 seasons. Well, McGreevy really wasn't that great 2 years ago, and he was great with the Cardinals last year, but he was not great in the minors and was terrific in spring training. He has gotten better and has a chance to be really good, and we all want to see him in the rotation now. I don't know that he was I certainly don't think that he's been the best Cardinal pitcher over the course of the last couple of years.
I feel like the discussion I just remember from people with him in the minor league system last season was that he just was not ready yet last year.
Right. And it takes some time now. He is, let me get his age here. So he's 24. He's going to turn 25 on July 8th.
But he
So-
did come up. I do
Yeah.
remember didn't he come up towards the end of last season?
He was
and
great.
He did great.
Yeah, he was 3-0 here, with,
Which I was kinda surprised.
1.96. But last year at Memphis, 9-8 with a 4.02. A year before that, 2 teams in the minors, 13-6 with a 4.12. He wasn't blowing people away at the
No.
minor league level the last couple of years.
No, Sarah Daly. Hey, Sarah, how are you doing? Sarah Daly is a part of the Sports Hub STL staff here, and she said that is why the alums stick around too. St. Louis is a place to play, live, and stay. That is a big reason why alumni stay here, is because you might go to other cities. Like, say you wanted to move to Nashville. I know that a lot of athletes now are moving to Nashville because, well, Tennessee doesn't have state income tax, which is kind of nice when you're making a lot of money like they do. But a lot of them still come back or end up moving back to St. Louis, you see, with former players, because nobody else will. You're always going to be known here, right?
Well,
because you're known by the fans. You
Yep.
go to other places, people aren't going to know you as much. So you kind of get a little bit more benefit of sticking around here.
Well, and now the average player makes $5 million and can live wherever they want.
Yeah.
A lot of those players, Sarah's dad, Todd Worrell, Andy Van Slyke, Ricky Horton, Tom Lawless, they weren't making as much. And Whitey would say to the players when they got here, especially when they were coming up, he said, I'm not telling you to buy a house in St. Louis, but it'd be a really good idea. So those players who weren't making a huge amount of money bought a house here and built a life here, had kids like Sarah here, and that's how they became St. Louisans. Well, now the minimum salary is $760,000.
Mhm.
So players can go out and build a house in San Diego. They make enough money as a young player. Ryan Helsley he's making $8 million this year in his 5th year. He can build wherever he wants. He can go wherever he wants. He doesn't have to stay in St. Louis and deal with the cold winters. So I think that's one of the things. The money has changed things. And I don't think any city any city east probably of Austin, Texas, any MLB city is keeping their players in their towns.
No. Well, and a lot of the players, honestly, too, if you kind of look at the statistics of where a lot of them come from, a lot of them come from California.
Right, yeah, right.
And so they're going to go back to
Yeah.
California and they
Yeah.
can train there all year round. So I do understand that aspect of it. I think that St. Louis still has that appeal as long as you can show those players, because not every player can sign with the Dodgers as much as they would love to, including Nolan Arenado. Not every player can sign with the Dodgers. So you do have to pick other teams. Not every free agent is going to be able to go to the Dodgers, even though it seems like it a lot of the times, because they can do whatever they want and pay for whatever they want. There is still that possibility of being attractive. You just have to make sure that you have the resources. The Cardinals do. And they have those resources. I'm glad that they're getting back to the development side of things.
Hockey Dad Dom, one of our great fans. You can live anywhere you want except Ladue, LOL. And I want to get to this one. I don't know, Matthew, if you would put this up, but this is very important to me. St. Louis, San Diego, and Toronto are the only MLB cities with no NFL team. Milwaukee, if you want to be pedantic. I love having the word pedantic in the show.
That's a great word. Word of the day.
Yeah, it is. Pedantic is the word of the day.
I
We
feel
like
we
this.
always have a word of the day, so
Yep.
that can be the good word of the day. I do you think that has a lot to do with it with the NFL teams? I know it just
No.
brings more revenue to the area theoretically, but
No, I don't think so. I think it's nice to have multiple leagues, but San Diego's doing really well in terms of, and San Diego's one of the places where players want to live, right? And they're
it's
paying
very
their
pretty
players
there.
a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think that's a big issue.
No. Midwest people are good people. That's
We're
something.
nice. We're friendly.
Midwest nice. Is that
Yeah.
kind of like a condescending term, or is it?
Yeah. Is it?
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
But
It's kind of condescending.
we clap for the opposition.
Midwest nice is the bless your heart of the Midwest. That's what it is. It's yeah. No, Midwest nice is 100% a backhanded compliment.
Really?
I think that
Do I need to be more of a jerk then?
No, it's just that Midwest nice is not is that we hate confrontation. And so instead of actually just telling people like a New Yorker would, F you, get out of my way, we dress it up, beat around the bush, and we're nice to people, even though we just should probably be a little bit more cut and dry, which I actually agree with. I hate that we have to tiptoe through the tulips with people. I wish there was a little bit more cut and dry.
Yeah. You do have an East Coast mentality. You're
It's like
right.
group saying, it's like group saying
Yeah,
quarter like a
you should be
Boston
in
guy.
Philly.
Oh
I
my
would be-
God, he would fit in
I would do
so
well in
in
Philly.
Philly.
You would.
Would he
The
not?
problem is
Yeah.
Philly would be too good for me. It's like I would go home and my blood pressure would just be at 120 constantly. What'd you do? Got in an argument with everybody I saw.
That's what they
Bunch of
love.
morons.
Yeah.
I feel like it's definitely more volatile. I don't know. It's having moved around a lot. There definitely is different layers to
Oh,
how
yeah.
people are. I would say in the South, it's called sugarcoating it. That's where you get the bless your
Sugarcoating.
hearts and stuff, where it's kind of passive aggressive in certain ways. They're not as direct with you. It's
I don't know
kind of
what's-
like a
I don't know
bless
why
your
you're
heart,
saying
sweetheart.
It's kind of passive aggressive. You developed a phrase to
I'm
tell
not done
people
with
to
my
go.
sentence.
They developed a phrase in the South to tell people to go F themselves. That is phrased
What
bless
is it?
your heart.
I love it.
bless
That is
your
the
heart.
most
Oh, bless your
passive aggressive phrase in the English
I think
lexicon.
it's great.
So yes, I would say in the South, it's definitely like a little bit more what we call sugar coating. They like sugar in the South.
I don't think
a lot of sugar in the
sugar
South.
coating is a Southern thing. I think that's just a phrase people use.
No,
correct?
I bet it's huge in the South. It's sugar coating things. And then when I moved here to the Midwest, I would say that people
bless your heart.
are a little bit more direct, but then there's that Midwest nice that kind of
Yeah,
holds them
yeah.
back a little bit. Then you go to the North and people are direct. And I kind of liked that.
Mhm.
And then East Coast, I think the most I've dealt with is Boston. I know that people don't like Boston accents or maybe even just like their kind of
Mhm.
like fiery personality. I think it's fun. I think it's hilarious. I love that stuff.
Oh, there's something.
I just like that different areas have so many different kind of ways.
Yeah, in St. Louis, if we say we lost our khakis, we lost pants. In Boston, you say you lost your khakis, you lost your car keys.
Deep Voice Dude says it's always sunny in Philadelphia is based on Matthew Rocchio. I could see you. Did you ever watch that show?
never did.
He
Here's
would-
the thing.
Oh
Here's the
my
thing.
God, you got to watch it. He would
I am not
100%
a-
be a character on there.
I am not a cruel person. And Always Sunny in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
incredible show. Just four or five cruel people.
But they don't realize
Bad
that they're
Okay.
cruel.
So,
Yes,
That's
exactly.
just amazing.
I wish I would. And you know what? Because there's a pocket of being dumb where you can like take care of yourself and live in this country, but you're so dumb that you don't realize when your actions affect other people. And so you can just walk through life blissfully doing whatever you want, not realizing that things you do affect other people. And that is a bliss that I do not have.
Okay.
But I kind of wish I did.
Okay, we got to get to we want you to sign up for the newsletter. We're going to get to that, but I have to ask Chris Ranji, Matthew Rocchio, one question.
Chris
Ranji's
Ranji.
Ranji's favorite show was It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. What are conversations between Matthew Rocchio and Chris Ranji like?
It's a lot of, can you get a load of these idiots? And then
Okay.
it's just kind of back and
So
forth.
you
Can
guys
you get a load of
you're-
these idiots?
You're kindred spirits.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes.
Okay, yeah,
I can see
that's
that.
what I figured.
The
Totally.
best thing
That's what I figured,
the best thing
yeah.
about working with Ranji is that I discovered there's a comedian I really like on Twitter. On YouTube. This is going to sound so weird. He's up in Chicago at a very legendary bar. His entire act, though, he uses a puppet that's a bird.
Uh-huh.
Chris Ranji worked at a bar with him when he was in Chicago, and he's like, "No, I know this comedian." So that was
Oh, okay.
kindred spirits, 100%.
Got it.
I watched the most
Okay.
niche YouTube videos in the world. Chris Ranji knows the guy who makes them.
Okay,
Who
good.
is this guy? I wanna
It's
look
called
him up.
Chad the Bird.
Chad
It's
the Bird.
the best It's some of the best
Chad.
comedy out there right now. He just does
Better than Anthony Jeselnik.
Trust me, him and Jeselnik could do a podcast that would go number one on the
That'd be
charts.
funny.
It would be
Chad the
Chad
Bird.
the
Chad the Bird,
Look him
okay.
up on YouTube. Carve out 12 minutes of your day to day. Watch any of his tributes. His tribute to Meatloaf was incredible. His tribute to Pee Wee Herman was unbelievable. He has a live show with Dolly Parton.
Oh, good.
That's
okay.
hilarious.
Check it out.
Yeah, check it
Chad
out.
the Bird. Hey, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page and like this video right here. If you haven't already, go to sportshubstl.com and sign up for the Hub newsletter. Sent to your inbox twice a week and anytime St. Louis sports news breaks. You can read Bernie's great stuff at sportshubstl.com. You're going to be the first to know about Sports Hub STL events and merchandise, get exclusive content and prize opportunities and more. And while you're on the site, check out all the St. Louis sports content, including game recaps, programming highlights, sports news and opinion, gambling tips, and more. It's all on the website at sportshubstl.com. And don't forget, later on tonight after the Cardinal game, you've got the Redbird show. Sports, there it is, Cards Up 365. Yeah, Cards Up 365.
The Redbird Show.
It is, it's a Redbird show.
Well,
It's
Cards
because
Up
we just
365,
we
and
just
then
talked
the
about
Cards
Chad the
Hub
Bird, and so it's
postgame.
confusing.
Post game. Cards Up, post game 365. There you go.
Oh
different
my
shows.
gosh.
Yeah.
Real quick. Somebody, wait, where did it go? It was one of my favorite things ever. Somebody said, doesn't Rocky already argue with everybody anyways? Yes.
Only about things I care about. I only argue about things I care about. I just happen
It
to
seems
care
like
about
everything then.
a lot of things.
Okay.
I like that.
And somebody's calling me cruel. My point is, in the Midwest, is that we
Cruel?
don't tell cruel people to their face that they need to get the F out of places. We coddle them and go, oh no, I don't think you should do that. Like, because we do the Midwest nice thing. We should do the more East Coast thing, grab them by the scruff of their neck and open the door with the crown of their head. That's the right way to get rid of evil people. We don't do that in the Midwest. We coddle people too much. We got to, again, one hand on the neck,
that way.
one hand on the
You
belt,
coddle people
out the
too
door
much?
through the front of their
think so?
head.
I'm so non-confrontational.
That's
Yeah.
my thing. We just need I'm not saying we need to be confrontational to that level. I'm just saying in the Midwest, we could use a little bit more direct confrontation. That's all I'm saying.
We're the murder capital of the blanket world.
I was like, am I missing something? I literally just read.
Come on. What more do you want?
Oh my God. Like literally, I think that we are plenty confrontational
I
here.
by the way, it's not the world. It's only America. But still.
But well, yeah, there's definitely probably some more violent places in the world.
But-
But we're up there in the USA, number one country. We're number one. We're number one. We're number one. Speaking of which, the Blues. We need to talk about the Blues in the Grim Report.
Loss, yeah.
The win streak has been snapped. 12 straight games for the Blues. Jets win 3-1 last night. If you're watching that one, my biggest takeaway is I miss Dylan Holloway.
Yeah.
That was my
He's
biggest
a difference
takeaway.
maker, big difference maker.
He is. And so how are you guys feeling in the chat? You guys can weigh in. How do you feel about the Blues losing? We were talking about this yesterday about, do you want them to keep winning? There's only just a handful of games left, even less than a handful, just a few games left in the regular season. When you're getting ready for the postseason, you kind of want them to lose going into the postseason. But I think the hardest part for me is you could see the absence of Dylan Holloway. Dylan Holloway is a difference maker, which was not expected for him whatsoever this season, but he is elevated to that top 6 role. He just gives you another scoring option.
And you're going against probably the best defensive team in the league, right?
Yeah.
You only have 15 shots on goal. They really, there wasn't, and it wasn't necessarily the Blues' fault. It wasn't like the Blues were dogging it. They just couldn't get to the front of the net, and they were prevented from doing so. Holloway is a guy that does that, by the way, at 195 pounds. He will go to the front of the net, and I think the Blues just need to, when they play, and I hope they do play Winnipeg in the playoffs, I think that's one of the things that they really need to concentrate on is playing playoff hockey. As we sit right now, the Blues have 3 games left, and they are holding the number 1 spot in the wild card. So they're probably going to play Vegas in the first round of the playoffs.
Which, I mean, either way, it's not like there's a perfect situation of one that you wanted more than the other. You kind of hope that the Blues would still be pesky. I think the concern I have is just Holloway in that timetable, because I don't know if you saw Jeremy Rutherford, The Athletic. He put out some of his discussion with Jim Montgomery. And of course, in the hockey world, they're very vague about these injuries. But he mentioned in his comments about Dylan Holloway that Holloway's doctor visit wasn't what they wanted to hear. If it were 1 week, even 2 weeks max, the Blues likely would have said day to day. And Jeremy said, in 20 years of covering this team, you may not get an exact timetable on an injury, but you get a sense of talking to people when it's significant.
I wonder what, and it I don't know what it looked like. It kind of,
it looked like hip to me.
Yeah, hip or groin.
Yeah, like it looked like hip, like when the way he was checked into the boards.
Yeah.
But then it was hard to tell specifically what it could be. It could be a million things, but to me, it looked like hip.
Yeah. So that is troubling because he became a key part of this team, and other people are going to have to step up. As great as Bolduc has been, he's going to have to maintain that. Snuggerud is going to have to be what we expect him to be. Eventually, Buchnevich is going to have to stay hot. 4 goals in 5 games for Pavel Buchnevich. It's there for the Blues, but they're going to have to do it probably without one of their guys. And my hope would be that Holloway would find his way back into the lineup. If you win a first round or get late into a first round, maybe you'll see him there. And I think having Colton Parayko, we tend to forget that Parayko has tied a career high in goals here before the knee injury. Parayko's offense is another key part of what this team is trying to accomplish.
And he should be back here soon.
Yeah.
And so that will be a big portion of this. Of course, you like to see these guys who have stepped up. We mentioned Cam Fowler yesterday, the way that he has just been huge for this team in the absence of Colton Parayko. But having Colton Parayko back, despite, I know a lot of people I've seen on social media point out that they have done well without Colton Parayko. Your team's only better with Colton Parayko.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I know people are saying, well, what about the chemistry? Well, Colton Parayko,
he was a part of that
fit in,
chemistry.
Yeah. And if you don't have, especially in the playoffs, you're not going to have the scrappiness. You're not going to have fights. You're going to have scrappiness. But I would rather have Colton Parayko in the playoffs than Tyler Tucker.
Yeah, I would too. 100%.
Love Tyler Tucker.
Nothing
for
against him.
what his role
Colton
is.
Parayko was there for the 2019 championship run. He was a big portion of that.
He and Bomeister were the best defensive pairing in that playoff from start to finish.
That was such an unreal pairing whenever you look back and think about it.
Yeah.
That was huge.
Essentially, last night was a 2-1 game. The Jets got the empty netter. So since the Four Nations, the Blues have taken them to a shootout and then lost a close game. I think the Blues can play with Winnipeg. And I don't know that they were firing all their guns last night either. I wonder if maybe Jim Montgomery was
holding back a little bit.
holding back a little bit with the idea that, okay, we might see these guys down the road. Let's not give them everything.
Yeah, I think that could be a part of it. They just looked worn out a little bit. And you have Holloway missing there. You have just kind of a little difference going on.
And there's pressure, right? Pressure in having a winning streak like that. I think there is a level of decompression when you finally lose a game.
Yeah, I think so.
And
you need that.
Yeah.
You just don't want what happened to Mizzou basketball, where then they started losing right towards the end, and that carried in. Sorry, Rockio, to bring that back up because that was painful, but it happened. It did happen.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, NCAA basketball last night.
Okay. Yeah, this is. I guess my entire day is just going to be getting angry about things. Me and Randy were talking about this. I threw this into the opening segment.
Yeah.
Because a lot of Mizzou fans were reacting yesterday and I think there's two ways to react for Mizzou fans.
I know what's happening.
Do you react to the oh, hey, we beat the champs in the regular season. That's something to hang your hat on. Or do you take the much more, in my opinion, Mizzou fan way of looking at it, and the way that I'm taking it, which is, oh my God, we were better than this team for at least a night. We know that for a fact. And yet number 11 Drake bumped us out. And I'm in the camp of this is torturous because number 11 Drake bumped us out, even though we could beat Florida on a 1v1 night. That's where I'm at. And I hope there are some much more healthy, emotionally Tigers fans out there who are taking this in a, hey, we beat the champs kind of mindset. Because that's a fun way to take sports. It's a fun way to look at it when you get bumped.
Matthew, how about this? We are the champs. We beat them on their home floor.
Yeah, how's UCF doing with that?
Well, fine. They're happy.
Are they? Okay. I mean, yeah, because they're in Florida. It's 32 degrees right now in
That's
March.
Good,
April.
yeah, that
Jesus.
was one of the other things that bothers Matthew is the temperature here in St. Louis today.
The temperature in St. Louis.
There's so only one team is going to win. And the fact of the matter is, right, only one team wins the championship every year.
Sure.
Yeah. But the Mizzou disintegrated down the stretch after the Alabama game. It was one game in their first 25 where they allowed 90 or more points. And then I think only 2 games in their last 7 where they didn't allow 90 or more points. They were a different team in the SEC tournament and in the NCAA tournament than they were when they played Florida or when they played Alabama and had those great performances. And to the credit of the Gators,
you're not making it better.
Oh, sorry. To the credit of the Gators, they sustained throughout the season. So did Houston. How do you think Houston feels today? Best defense in the league in America, and they've got a 12-point lead, and they blow it. They've got to feel terrible. And 19.7 seconds left, you inbound, and you don't get a shot off to win the game.
Sampson just
how does that happen?
There.
Yeah,
that was. I'm sorry for hijacking your Grim Report, Brooke. You brought up last night.
No, I thought I didn't know. We are wrapping up things a wee bit early today, so I thought that we were just transitioning into the next discussion. Anyway,
Joe Roderick tweeted last night, and like right as I'm about to go to bed, my head's about to hit the pillow, and just Joe Roderick hits the tweet and just goes, "Hey, how are Mizzou fans feeling about this whole thing?" And I thought about it until I fell asleep because Yeah, I can't get over the fact that there was a moment after the Florida game, after the Alabama game, where you thought Mizzou could be in the conversation, and
Yeah, definitely.
they were just
even the loss at Tennessee.
we didn't even get a sentence out before everything just evaporated in front of our eyes.
Samuel House says it was a character loss for Florida. Mizzou builds champions. And then my favorite from Ellipsis 150. When is the banner night next year for the Tigers? Can't wait to see them raise the banner, beat the #1 team in the country.
I don't appreciate being referred to like the Nashville Predators of college basketball right there.
Or the Lakers, preseason champs or whatever it was.
I think the Colts also like put out like a AFC South like 7 years in a row banner where they didn't actually like win in the playoffs or something like that. The Colts might have done like an embarrassing one. Anyhow,
are
we not?
All due respect, aren't we used to not winning championships at Mizzou?
God damn it.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're right. You're 100% correct. They have, I think, because of Tennessee, not Tennessee. I forgot which team I'm blanking on. They now have the second longest or second most trips to the tournament without going to the Final Four.
Oh, really? Tennessee's number one?
No, Tennessee wasn't number one. It was, I can't remember. One of the teams that got close this year is above them, and I'm blanking on who it was. There was a graphic that got thrown up, and I'm being
SEC team.
I think it might have been. Bottom line, I could not be more frustrated. Florida winning made me even more frustrated, and the fact that Dennis Gates is doing better in the portal after going 0-18 in the SEC than he is now is also not helping. And I know those things aren't 100% analogous. Year to year portals are going to be different, things like that. I know that's true. I still can't get over the fact that it was better last year than it is this year, despite all the success you have, until you again blew it against Draco.
Hey, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to check out what's going on with my friends at DraftKings Pick 6. It is amazing. And if you're a baseball fan, you went that long winter without action. Well, baseball is back and you don't want to miss out on that action. And right now, you can check out my partners at DraftKings Pick 6, a fresh, exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's so much fun. And listen to this. All new customers who play just $5 are going to get $50 in Pick 6 credits to keep you in the game. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and sign up with the code STLHUB, to claim your offer. And that code to enter again is STLHUB. I love to play it, and you'll love playing it too. Level up your baseball experience only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
That was good. That was a good one. Did you have
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
And Brooke, you asked me before we heard that guy if I had made my picks, and I have for today.
The anonymous man.
I gotta go back because one of them, I think there's going to be a lot of strikeouts tonight in the Cardinal Pirates game, and I've got Paul Skeens going over 7.5, and I've got Sonny Gray. I think I had Sonny going over 6.5 strikeouts. So I'm going with both pitchers to have big strikeout nights tonight in the Cardinal Pirate game.
Nice.
Can I ask? I don't know, Randy Karraker betting an above or more on Sonny Gray forces me to just kind of ask a question of, what are the factors going into it?
Well, he number one, he struck out 9 in his last outing. He does strike out guys out, and he's going against the Pirates team that just does not score.
Does it being cold help you?
Yeah, that helps. Yeah, no doubt about it. And it is cold.
What is the weather in Pittsburgh?
I think it's going to be in the 30s.
Yes.
Oh, that's perfect.
It's going to be a chilly one.
Sonny Gray.
Perfect for Sonny.
Yeah, he'll enjoy it. So yeah, that's what I'm going with. So yeah, what do you think? You
I like
it?
the call.
I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
You need Sonny Gray to be good today.
Again, when you're looking at these lineups, to the chat's point, I don't think you can go against the Cardinals striking out a bunch. And as we were talking about before, one of the only 2 starters for the Cardinals who actually had a second good start is Sonny Gray. Pretty much replicated his opening day start. So yeah, I think that's a good run considering how bad the Pirates offense nominally is. Last night being hopefully an aberration.
So both of those two, by the way, Gray and Skeens, I've got them going over 7.5 Ks with my DraftKings pick 6, and the crown is mine.
It's yours.
Everyone sounded like I sounded a little weird that last time.
Yeah.
Wait, everybody could try to do their best announcer impression. Yours is good.
Oh, thank you.
Rockio, I'm putting you on the spot.
What am I doing?
You're doing because everybody thought it was you who the mysterious voice that just popped up.
See, usually I can do that because I can talk really fast. So I can do the disclaimer kind of voice because I'm able to talk really fast. And that's useful thing when you're trying to do the reflame. You got to say, hey, I got this information, more information, more information, more information, more information. It's easier when you can talk fast.
Nice.
So that's helpful.
Yeah.
By the way, when I slow down and talk like this, I feel like I'm walking through molasses and I'm about to go insane. So people try to tell me, Matt, slow down, don't talk so fast. You have to understand.
It's almost like you're talking.
I'm trying, but I feel like I'm talking to people like I feel like they're dumb, like I'm being condescending when I talk this slow. And I know that's not what I'm doing. I know this is how a normal human being talks, but I just need people to understand. Right now, to me in my head, I sound like a crazy person.
I think it's the inflection, if I'm being honest, the cadence in which you're speaking.
This is my cadence.
It is. I think that's what it is because you're doing this like in your tone,
but I can't talk slowly without doing that.
Then don't do it. Is what I'm telling you. You can't instead of just talk linear instead of like that.
But then I just talk fast.
Hey, we need to. I get you. I think you're fine. Number one Blues fan. I was at the Battle Dome Sunday and saw a dude wearing a number 9 Burrow St. Louis Bengals jersey.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Do you want to keep the black and orange, or should we change colors when we get the team and change the name?
I like the black and orange. Is there different colors that we should be looking at?
That
would speak to St. Louis a little bit more.
Sky blue and silver for the Hornets.
They had what about the white and black off or like alternate jersey they have?
I love those.
I love those jerseys.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be the Bengals if we get them.
That's your
issue. You don't
like
the River Bengals?
Your issue with the story is whether or not when a new NFL team comes here in 2020, before the year 2075, your issue is that they might not keep their name.
You'll still be around then, right?
Oh, yeah.
I hope so.
It's my understanding that if we ever get another team from another market, that the powers that be would not want to keep the name of the franchise because there was just such an emotional attachment that LA had. And that was one of the things. Jerry Jones, I won't have the Los Angeles Rams back. It's the Los Angeles Rams. So you don't want that.
The emotional ties to it.
He grew up, he's from LA and he loved Los Angeles Rams.
He grew up in LA?
Yeah.
What happened to him?
I don't know.
What happened to the accent?
Went to the University of Arkansas.
Say he went to Fayetteville.
But I'm saying I thought he grew up in Arkansas. I thought Jera grew up in Arkansas. Because wasn't he in some old controversial photos?
No, he was born in Los Angeles, California.
There you go.
What?
He was born in Los Angeles and moved to Little Rock, Arkansas as a child. His parents owned an independent grocery store. He was a running back at North Little Rock High School, graduating in 1960. Afterward, his family moved to Springfield, Missouri, where his father led a successful insurance company.
Yep.
Wait, he went to the University of Arkansas and he was as a resident of the Missouri? I had no flipping clue.
Yep.
Oh my
what
God.
A great guy.
Following graduation
out of him when he was younger, because
he was
they were integrating the schools, and he was seen being part of the kids who were resisting the integration.
And he said he was there because he was curious.
This is why we need to have more respect for Jerry Jones and the hardworking mentality. Following graduation, he became executive vice president at his family's insurance company.
Oh, EVP.
Imagine 22 years old being an EVP of a successful insurance company. That must have been so much hard work at the University of Arkansas to get there.
I like what he's doing with the Cowboys. I just think it's great what he's done for the last 30 years. I'm really hopeful that he's able to maintain what he's been able to accomplish since the end of the 95 season. I hope that he can just keep it up.
We have food to eat here soon.
free food. You guys know.
Yes,
They sold the
know,
insurance
because-
company
you know.
and they bought Buena Vista Exotic Animal Paradise, which was a wildlife safari RV park located on I-44, 12 miles east of Springfield, Missouri, where you could see herds of kudu and llama. I think I hate Jerry Jones more than I did 5 minutes ago.
Interesting.
He's terrible.
Terrible. Well, we do have an event to go to.
We do.
Where there is free food, because we have told you in the past that if there's free food, we'll be there.
We are.
And that's where we're going.
It's at
That's
Busch
where we're
Stadium
going.
too. So Brooke and I have already done free food at Busch Stadium.
But then
far.
there's more free food.
Yeah, there is.
There is. So we have to head
Can
there.
I tell you that? So for the opener, they had M&Ms,
Uh-huh.
and then the second day of the season they didn't have M&Ms, and I was kind of sad.
They didn't have the M&Ms there?
No,
Really? Why?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
Not even leftovers?
No, none.
Wow.
None. They had popcorn.
The popcorn's
So
good.
did I go for the third day? No,
Did they have mini corn dogs?
no.
Oh, wow.
They had regular hot dogs.
They just rolled those babies out for opening,
Opening
day.
day,
They
yep.
said this is a special.
Yep. But we're going to the 703 Club, and if you get a chance to go to the 703 Club, it's great. It's awesome. So
It is.
check it out.
Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy it, even though it's not the Budweiser bow tie bar anymore. They do have $5 beer though. Go up to the Crown Bar up in the Budweiser terrace up in the upper deck. $5 beer before the game. Check it out.
Nice.
All right. We appreciate you being a part of the Randy Karraker Show featuring Brooke Grimsley and Matthew Rocchio. And we will be back at it tomorrow at 10, and we'll be with you till 11:30 tomorrow
Yes.
here on Sports Hub STL.